And then I showed somebody else some puppies, and he was like, "Bro, is that your purple toes in the thing?" Bruh, I don't care. Like, you could talk. I got daughters. Because I got daughters, I could care less.
When
Like,
you fall asleep, when I was,
Dude.
my daughter's little, you went up with painted
that's what I'm
fingernails.
saying. It does not bother me.
Never stop, I'll get it if I want it. Gotta make to myself a promise. I won't quit, keep going till I got it. I won't give up till I'm on top.
Yo,
yeah.
no, I ain't the type to give up.
How you doing, my beautiful people? We're here at Ducati Austin. We're gonna meet with Vito. We're gonna talk about, Ducatis. This is a place where I shop at a lot. Bought my V4R, my Street Fighter, my Hyper, some other bikes that I've also bought here. But Vito's a really good guy that's gonna pretty much give us a lot of information about, one, bikes that are currently on the market, but two, bikes that are coming out this year. So let's check it out. Another episode here on Corner Speed. I know I've been gone for a long time. I need a beard. Need a haircut. Probably notice the truck is dirty, but with that all being said, I've been moving, and we're gonna have another episode of that, the new crib and things of that nature, probably around MotoGP time when it all gets started, kicked off, maybe the first MotoGP party at Griff's crib. But let's see what Ducati Austin's talking about. Oh man. Ride safe. What's up, Vito?
Hey, how you doing, Griff?
Doing good. Vito's good seeing you. What y'all don't know, this is Ducati Austin. This is Vito, one of my really good friends. I met Vito, about
5 years ago?
I don't know, you didn't talk to me at first.
Well, I didn't know who you were.
I didn't have a motorcycle.
Well, you were just some guy that came in. We talked more boxing and
We did a lot of talking and
Yeah.
stuff, but you eventually got me onto the track. You and Josh, y'all pretty much helped me out, get me set up. First day with Ride Smart, they did a lot of great things, and I really do appreciate that. It keeps me off the street right now. Now I got a lot of track days in, get a lot of experience, but you also sold me a lot of bikes. But first thing first, I guess the question I really have for you is because, I sell cupcakes. That's what I sell, but you sell motorcycles. And I guess the first question is, how did you get into selling motorcycles?
well, my background was in engineering. That's what I did for 30 years.
Engineering has nothing to do with
Right.
selling motorcycles.
And I was moving to Texas to take a job with a big computer company that was in town. And I was at that time racing a little Aprilia RS 250 in Georgia. And I was moving here and I was looking for a place and stuff like that. And I ended up finding this place and we started talking about the motorcycle business. And about 5 years later, the opportunity came in to buy this building and get involved with the dealership as an investor. And I started doing it. But I was still maintaining my other job, and then almost about a week from now will be my 10-year anniversary of working here, where I left that job to do this full time.
So I guess the real question is, why Ducati? Well, I got an idea. People don't know Sicilian.
Yes,
Yes, you're from New York.
Originally from upstate
New
New
York,
York.
but you're a diehard Miami Dolphins fan.
Yes,
so that's
I
why we
am.
butt
Long
heads.
suffering.
Yes, we're both at home watching Super Bowl together because I'm definitely Tennessee Titans. But why Ducati?
I started off riding Yamahas.
Okay.
And that was sort of my thing. I grew up as a big Yamaha, Kenny Roberts fan. And one of the first bikes I saw about a year after riding a Yamaha, and I actually have it back there, was a black and gold Ducati. And I said, that bike is really cool. I want one of those. And then I found out it was a Ducati. And sort of the whole Italian thing too. And I just loved the bikes, loved the brand. And I was on my way to buy another Yamaha, and I decided to stop at a Ducati dealership. And it was a whole different vibe. It was more of like, I'm buying the bike. I decided I liked the bike, bought the bike. And they invited me to go ride with them the next day. In my, at that time, probably 6 years of riding a motorcycle, I never had going to a dealership that was anything more than a transaction, buy the bike and leave. And so it was that whole sort of like, hey, do you want to come ride with us tomorrow? We're going for a group ride. And it was just a whole different experience at the dealership. We all became friends. The owner, the people that worked there, the customers, and sort of for me, it became just more of almost a family and a lifestyle thing than versus just having a motorcycle and go ride it somewhere.
I feel the same way. I mean, ever since we met and we've been riding, at the track together, but at the same time, the experience of going to different tracks, but it became more of a family, more of a opportunity whenever I have questions. I mean, I even keep a bike here, became real good friends with Josh, which He didn't want to be on camera today, but if you ever come to a track day, he's definitely
You'll
a
find
guy.
him.
You would easy to find him. He's what we call a brother from another mother. But Rustin, Nick, Andrew Kelly, Ron. I mean, there's a lot of guys that we all. I mean, I met a lot of guys here, but it's even crazy now that as the experience of track riding and actually buying bikes and everything else, it became more than just that. But you know, we go out to eat, we hang out, we do a lot of different things and whatnot. You even invite me over sometimes to meet some of these, you know, great racers and things, that behind the scene things that people don't really get to see and get the opportunity to do. But I really appreciate that. But I guess the next question I would have for you: what bikes do you currently own personally yourself now?
Personally, I have a '93 750 Super Sport that I bought back in '99 to go race.
Okay.
It was my first real track bike.
Okay.
I was riding on the street way too fast, living in Georgia, and I wanted a track bike, so I bought that. I still have it. It's in the back. It's being rebuilt right now. Then I have a 2010 Hyper Evo SP, an old Hyper. I have a 1299 Superleggera.
Okay.
I have a new bike coming. It'll be here next week. I have a Lambo Street Fighter coming.
This guy, I can't keep up with you.
And then I have a Panigale V4R that I use for track days.
How many bikes have you owned total in your lifespan?
You know, not really as many as you would think. Probably maybe 15. Maybe that many, maybe a little bit more, because I usually keep them for a long time. And then, you know, some of them I got rid of quick, but usually I sort of get attached to them and keep them. But yeah, probably somewhere in that number, 15 maybe.
What is your favorite bike right now?
Well, probably my favorite bike right now to ride is the Panigale V4R, because I spend a lot more time on the track than I do on the street lately because of just work. But emotionally, just the way it looks in Heritage and Ducati is right now probably my 1299 Superleggera.
Okay. What's the, now, 1299 V4, if I'm not mistaken, explain more. Again, you are the expert when it comes to this. Different motors, correct? Ducati went from the V2, if I'm not mistaken, to the V4.
Yeah.
And explain the difference on that.
So Ducati, you know, they originally started off with a thing called a cucciolo. It was a little engine to stick into a bicycle after World War II for cheap transportation in Italy. Then when they decided they were really going to sort of move into the sport, because they started off with scramblers and other things, but then they went into the V2, which was the 90 degree, and they called it an L twin because the engine was shaped like this, looked like an L in the chassis. And that was the bike. The 90 degree motor was that motor, other than like the MotoGP replica 2008, you know, limited production bike. But they've been a company that made twins all the time until 2018, when they released the production V4, which is still a 90 degree, but it's a 4-cylinder bike versus a twin. And myself personally, I've been riding since 1981. My first bike that I've ever owned with more than 2-cylinder was a 2018 Panigale V4. My whole life has been riding twins of, you know, Ducati, Aprilia, and some Yamahas back in the day.
Did that feel different? Was it a different change when you?
Yeah, it was. It took me a long time to adjust to the V4. It always felt like it was bigger. It felt like it was actually slower to me. But I was going faster on it, but it was so easy to ride because the 1299, and I had a Panigale R before that. You knew when you were riding. They were very narrow, very stiff. They moved around a lot when you're trying to go fast on them on the track. And the V4 always was like way more composed. The engine is just smoother. It's got a lot of things, electronic aids that make it easier to ride. But it was, I always thought I was going slower, but I was going faster on the thing. And now I can't imagine for track and stuff like that riding anything but a V4.
Gotcha.
Because it's so good. And I think you could, you've had a few different ones yourself.
I've had all V4s, so I can't even tell you what the V-twin or any of that thing. Something I have not. I finally, you know, you remember when I told you I would never get R's, too expensive, and I don't know how you convinced me to get one, but I got one. I do appreciate it. You remember the first time I rode it, I was upset because it did not ride like my V4S.
Yeah.
But let's do this. Let's take a look at some of the bikes that you got here. You can kind of walk us through, and I guess a question I would have for you as we're walking. If I was just now getting into bikes, or I was my first purchase when it came to a bike, what would you suggest?
So it depends on what you're going to do, really, and that's always the first thing you sort of
Okay.
want to find out. What are they going to do? What do they want to do? You know, what kind of riding are they looking for? Are they looking to ride casually around the city, the streets? You know, I would say a scrambler. I always tell people an upright bike, shy away from super bikes for your first bike, because it's a more committed, dedicated position, all the stuff. It can still be a very safe bike, but it just, when you're leaned over, it's just harder to ride.
Yeah.
You got to bend your head up and down. So I always recommend an upright bike to start off with because it's just easier. So if you were just going to do like city, commuting, you know, a little bit of highway and stuff like that, Scrambler or a Monster are my two favorite bikes.
Scrambler or Monster, okay.
Unless you come from a dirt bike background and you sort of like that hyper motard look, which
Yeah.
I love, even though I don't really come from a dirt bike background. I would recommend something like that. And then if you have more experience as you're going, or you want to do like touring or adventure riding, the multi-strut I've owned, actually, maybe I had own more bikes than I thought because I've had 3 of them.
Okay.
But a multi-strut is like the best, I think, the sort of the Swiss Army knife of bikes. It does everything well. So the multi is great because you can get luggage. There's a lot of varieties, suit all your different needs. Then if you're a track guy, or you want something that's really nice for twisty back roads, Panigale V2, Panigale V4, and if you're like a dedicated track guy, the R is the way to go.
What about the Street Fighter?
Street Fighter, it's essentially a super bike, but naked and upright, so it's comfortable for the person who doesn't want to be leaned over all the time. It's sort of like the comfortable, basically super bike for the street, but you can take it to the track and it's really well. does
But I've
well.
seen that they came with a V2
Yeah.
in the Street Fighter.
It's for the rider that's maybe looking for something a little, less expensive, a little tamer, because the V4 is essentially a 208 horsepower bike versus 100 in mid-50s. But they both have very sophisticated things like ABS, braking, traction control, wheelie control, and other things like that to make it nice and safe. But the Street Fighter V4 is just a little bit more manic.
Now this may sound, and I understand this, may sound like a dumb question, but as I'm looking at some of the bikes here, I see gold on the front forks, I see the black on some of the forks. What does those type of things mean for the people who do not understand what that means?
So basically, there's, in most of the Ducati family, they have what they call like a Panigale, which is, it's not, and not to use the word base because there's nothing base about it, but it's the bike that the feature set is really high quality componentry. Like this one, it will have basically a show a big piston fork, which is a good fork, but if you follow racing or performance, basically the S models, they come with Öhlins suspension, and Öhlins is really the premium, sort of the best componentry you can buy, and Öhlins has a whole family of different items of suspension. So when you move into the S models, you're getting better componentry. So you're getting an Öhlins fork, which is just smoother. The gold that you see on the bottom is titanium nitrate, which is basically a smoother, less friction in the front fork. Then a higher spec rear shock with more adjustability, more features to it. And then you get some other things usually on the bike to make it a little bit lighter, like lighter weight wheels, forged alloy versus gravity cast. You get a lithium battery versus a regular lead acid to save weight. But you never compromise on a Ducati on the safety features and the electronics on the bike. All the models usually have the same thing. When you get into some of the more exotic, like the Superleggeras, they may have a couple little different things for track performance, but that is the big difference. So you usually go from a Panigale and this family to an S model, then you jump to the R, and the Rs are usually reserved for racing. They're what they do homologate so they can race in like World Superbike, Moto America, and usually it's a different engine. Then they move features around so what makes it legal for the class.
Understandable.
So example like the R is a smaller displacement engine.
Well, let's go see what an R
Yeah.
looks like, or we want to start with the Superleggera, because I see that's Rustin's Superleggera back there.
So this is from 2020.
Okay.
So this bike was built 2020 and it carried into 2021.
Okay.
It was a limited edition bike. They made 500 for the world.
Yeah.
This one's been extensively modified for a couple reasons. They usually came Floto Rosso, very bright red-orange color. But they used a lot of things they learned from MotoGP, like the wings, which add downforce to the front, allow the bike so that less wheelie control. Then it has very high-end componentry. Superleggera is all about being lightweight, because that's what it really means. And so this bike weighs about 380 pounds, full of fuel, full of everything, ready to go, which is lighter than that little scrambler you saw in the front.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But this bike is all about performance, lightweight, exclusivity. It's got carbon fiber wheels, a carbon fiber chassis, carbon fiber swing arm, a lot of titanium. The engine internals are very unique to the model, very lightweight, so the motor spins fast, a lot of horsepower. It's just very sort of the exotic. It's sort of the Porsche GT3 RS of motorcycles.
Guy, I know you're big. If y'all don't know, he's a big-time Porsche fan, so that's
Yeah,
why
I like
he keeps
Porsche.
referring to Porsches. And not to mention, you had one of these also, correct?
Yeah, I had one of these for a year. It was an amazing bike, but actually he was the one who sort of made me rethink owning it.
What did I do?
You told me I was too tentative on it.
You
I
was very
nervous.
tender. He was when you see him out there ride, he was so scared that anybody would run into him or whatever it was. So you started riding very,
Yeah.
I would say,
Tentative.
tentative. I'm not going to say slow. Let's say
was
tentative.
slow.
Tentative. All right.
Yeah.
So over here, as we work our way over here, this is your V4R,
Yeah.
which he kicks my tail on every single time
I
he's
know
out
about
there.
that.
This is his V4R. Can you explain to me what the 13 means? I never understood that. What did the 13 mean?
13 is sort of, I grew up, in Italy. 13 can be a lucky number.
Okay.
And so I always had 13 as sort of my lucky number. And my very first race, amateur racing, that's all I ever did, was I raced 13.
But you know they got a thing called like Friday the 13th, and when you get on
Yeah,
elevators, they skip the
Jason
floor
and all that.
13.
Yeah, no,
so
don't worry about
that's
that.
your lucky number.
I love 13.
Now that I know that, I know not. So
Yeah,
yes.
so I put a 13. I usually don't have numbers on bikes. I don't like it because I don't race.
So now let me ask this, because I personally don't know this question, the answer to this question. Is the motor and everything the same in this R that it is for that Superleggera?
They're very close.
Very close.
Very close. There's a couple things done on that to make it even lighter.
Okay.
But when it comes to the displacement on this is 998.
Oh.
It has titanium rods, titanium valves, the same as the Superleggera. But this one is basically, since it's came out a little later, there was also some other advances in the bike and the electronics package, because that's the thing that's constantly evolving every year, is the electronics and the sophistication of the bike. So I think from when you had your
S.
regular S to riding this, how much smoother it feels, all the electronics.
This one
the
is very,
shifting.
I would have to admit, this one is very, because you remember me, I'm BMW, and I wrote this. It's very, very similar, and I was very impressed. But I was more impressed that I spent the money for the R. I just still can't believe you got it out of me though. That's what the exhaust.
I didn't get it out. The bike got it out of
No,
you.
you got it out of me, Vito. You're lucky we're friends.
But
We're
yeah,
just part
it's
of
amazing because it's like almost unheard of now. It spins when you put the exhaust on it to over 16,000 RPMs. So it's crazy what they get out of these things.
So you say you have a bike that's coming, and it's going to be similar to this one, I believe.
This one right here.
This one right here. And explain to me what this is. This is
So-
no Street Fighter, but
So it's a Street Fighter, and just for a little bit of history, Ducati was, can't remember how many years ago, I think it's now over 10, was purchased by the Volkswagen Group, and they fall under the Audi family, so that's why the sort of the whole Porsche thing too. So it's Volkswagen, Audi, Porsche, Lamborghini, Ducati. And so Ducati has a collaboration with Lamborghini, and they've done now several bikes. They did a Diavel, and then last year in 23 they did the Street Fighter. And so it's a collaboration between Lambo and Ducati, and they took off a lot of the styling cues from the Lamborghini Huracan STO.
okay.
So the colors, the carbon fiber, so basically all the bodywork on the bike is carbon fiber, styling cues basically off the STO, to make it a very unique bike, and they only did 500 of them.
So
or
this
not
is-
500, 600. and
600. This is a
33.
limited edition too.
Limited edition. They're all numbered. They come with a lot of really unique things. The keys and everything. A lot of the stuff. The dash, when it comes up, it has the Lambo logo, the Ducati logo. A lot of carbon. Ducati carbon fiber is a big thing. You know, lightweight, very strong material, and so they use that. It has unique wheels that match like what Lamborghini puts on their cars. So there's a lot of really nice little features in it.
So what are we looking for? It's year 2024. What are we looking forward to with Ducati? What's new? What's the new bikes that are coming out?
So they just did a collaboration with Bentley
Okay.
for a Diavel.
So that is real.
That is real.
Okay.
They're already sold out.
Okay, I didn't know
Yeah.
if that was real or not. Okay.
Yeah, so it's another bike that very small quantities will probably be maybe 100 that'll make it to the U.S.
Okay.
Because usually the U.S. market is like number 1 or 2 in the world for Ducati. So that Bentley's coming. It's a unique collaboration. They just launched a bike a few months ago in Miami. So that's a bike that's coming, but that's very limited special edition bike.
Did you sell any?
Yeah. Damn. A couple of them.
Did my dog get one? You know what we're talking about.
Yes, he did. But actually, the bike that I sort of so there's a whole bunch of Ducati's won the MotoGP and the World Superbike Championship now 2 years running.
Okay.
So they released replica editions in 2022 and now in 2023.
Okay.
Very limited, depending on the rider, because Ducati swept the first 3 places in MotoGP. So there's those special bikes. Those are commemorative, painted to match the replicas in limited numbers. So those are coming out. But one of the bikes I'm sort of most excited about, because I love the Multistrada, is there's a new Multistrada that just came out. We received our first one. It's on the lift right now. It's called a Multistrada RS, which takes the Desmos Adichie engine that's on the Panigale V4s in that bike instead of the Desmos Strada engine that they were putting in it with valve springs. So it's a higher spec version, higher performance version of the Multistrada, and it's called the Multistrada V4 RS.
Okay.
So it's got like things like a titanium rear subframe to make it lighter. The new engine adds 10 horsepower. Styling cues that are a little bit more aggressive on the bike. So that's sort of a really cool bike. And then there's there's a new Desert X Rally, which is a really high spec for the person that wants to do adventure touring.
What
So
color
it's-
is that one going to be?
What color?
Yeah.
It's-
the Desert, you had the white, and you have
So they have
black.
the white, and then they have, they call it the R22 livery,
Yeah.
which is the black one.
Yeah.
Which is like what Audi raced in Dakar. They actually won this year. But the Rally is going to be a lighter color. It's not black.
Okay.
But it has a higher spec suspension. It's for the guy that's really, or gal, that's really serious about adventure off-road. So more beefed up, taller suspension, a couple other features, skid plates and everything on it to make the bike more aggressive for the true, really adventure off-road rider.
What about is there an actual Ducati dirt bike?
There is. So it's not available to the public. They're just starting to race it this year.
Okay.
They're going to race it in Europe.
All right.
I don't know a lot about it because it's just what they've been sort of slowly feeding out. But it's Ducati is very serious about doing what they've done in World Superbike and MotoGP in the dirt bike world. So the
Okay.
first one's you're on social media, you'll see it. It's a 450. It's a Ducati. It's not.
So it is a Ducati.
It's a Ducati,
You know, social
100%.
media just throws you off. You see these pictures, you see everything.
No, it's
you just don't know
Ducati
exactly
through and
what's going
through.
on.
When you even just look at the engine, you look at the cues on the engine, you go, it's a Ducati. It's got the magnesium look to the heads and the covers and stuff like that. But it's a true, real, full-on motocross bike.
And then they also have the hype. What is the hype? What is the new?
Oh, the new Hyper?
Yes.
Oh, I forgot about that. That one's pretty exciting. So Ducati hasn't had a single in a long time. So there's a new Hyper, and it's called a 698. There's 2 versions, 698 and 698 RVE. So it's a single cylinder. Basically, they took that 1299 engine, I'm sort of simplifying it, but chopped off half of it. So Ducati put twin balancing shafts, but still made it nice and light. So it's going to be a single. It's going to be like a Hyper Motard that we have up there, but a single. Basically, it's geared towards the newer, get more riders out there. But it's still going to be a Ducati, so it's still going to have all the great functionality. It's sort of that super mono, hyper motard kind of feel and vibe to it. Where there's the regular, then the RVE is going to be the one with basically, like we had our hyper RVEs.
Very fun on the track.
Yeah, the graphics a little more splashy, a little bit more wild, a couple little features on it more, but it's for that bike that you want to have fun. You know, for the guy who wants to, maybe gal wants to do a little bit of wheelies, a little bit of stoppies, take it out to the track, slide it around. It's that kind of bike.
Got you.
So those should be coming in a couple of weeks.
Couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Okay, a couple of weeks. Well, I'm not going to take up too much more time. I know you have a lot going on. I know track season's right around the corner. I'm sure we'll be out there hanging out or whatnot. But is there anything else that you would like the audience to know?
Yeah. So on the track day front, you know, we have a small core group of people, but we encourage, even if you don't do it with us, really, and I think this really applies to you too and myself, the track is a great way to learn some skills, get your confidence for when you're even riding on the street, even though you never should ride like you do on the track on the street, but improve your confidence and learn what the bike can do and improve your ability. So I always recommend it to people, even though it does sound scary at first, taking your bike and all that on the track, but it's a great way to improve your skills. We have a couple really good track day providers in the state of Texas, in Austin especially. We have a world-class track in the Circuit of Americas. And then as a dealership, we do it with another dealership and a car dealership. We do our own event at the Circuit of Americas on June 2nd called Vito Veloce, which is a great way for more experienced riders to have a great time, learn about the track, and learn about their own riding ability.
That's definitely a good. I've done that 2 years in a row. That's a great event. Got Carlos up in
Houston.
in Houston, V1 Moto. They do a fantastic job. And the more impressive thing is that, you know, you get to actually see the Lamborghinis and all those exotic cars on the track, but they're more amazed at us riding our bikes and what we do on the track. So it's kind of cross-verse on everybody getting to see each other and getting to mingle and whatnot. Great food, great environment, wide open track, different levels. But again, if you're ever in the city of Austin or if you're ever at a track day, definitely look for Ducati Austin. We're always there with a garage. We got some other special guests that'll be coming soon that we talked about. Our buddy who always, you know, has every bike in the showroom floor and continues to do what he does, but great guy by the name of Rustin Vickers. But again, if you're ever in Austin, you're looking for a bike, Ducati, or whatever it may be, to me, and I personally say this by the bottom of my heart, Vito's the guy for that. Gets me ready, gets me set up each and every week. My guy Josh is walking by. He thought he was not going to get his cameo. Yes, there he is. Josh does his thing, especially with the bikes, and get everything situated and things in that nature. But with that all being said, what's the address again? I know it's right here on Breaker Lane, but I don't know the exact number. What is the exact number?
We're at 812 East Breaker Lane at the corner of I-35, right next to Northern Tool. And just one other thing.
What's up?
Always wear the right gear when you're riding, whether it's street or track.
And they can find you on social media.
Find us under social media, under Ducati Austin on Facebook and Instagram.
Definitely. And again, appreciate everything. Appreciate your time, Vito.
All right, thank you.
You're going to make me end up buying another bike soon.
I will.
Especially that you talked about that new Hyper. That sounds like
You need to get one if you haven't got one.
I know. How much longer do you think it'll take? I mean, is it too late to get on the list?
No, you can get on the list.
Okay. Yeah.
You know who's getting one?
I know who's getting one.
RVE.
He's getting RVE too?
No.
Yeah, he doesn't ride that, but it's okay. We'll figure that out.
He's going to learn to be a hooligan, he says.
The guy's already a hooligan with everything he buys. But appreciate everything. Tune in next time. But again, appreciate everything.
All right.